Brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters. This brother Elihu L coming at you from Baltimore, Maryland. Look, I'm gonna talk to you about Kemet. I want to talk to you about Freemasonry, and just basically, I must address again this atheist movement that has swept across a lot of black people. Um, I don't know if this atheist explosion is coming by way of this huge Kemet interest. You know what I mean? And this whole worship of ancestors and dead ancestors. Okay, I told you before in the magical arts, that's a form of black magic, and it's called divination. All right, it's a form of necromancy. All right, it's the worship of the dead and the worship of ancestors. All right, it's a blasphemy, and it's forbidden in the Levitical laws. All right, um, in Freemasonry. Okay, you have Brother Polite saying things like he's Scottish Rite Freemason. First of all, check this out. No, Scottish Rite Freemasons are the only Freemasons that go to 33 degrees, okay? They're the only branch of Masonry that has 33 degrees, okay? The York Rite has 13 degrees. But the 33rd degree is an honorary degree. They only have 32 degrees. The Scottish Rite Freemasonry originally had only the Blue Lodge, like Black Lodges have. The Blue Lodge is only the first 3 degrees. All right, and an apprentice, a fellow craft mason, and a master mason. It was when Albert Pike, okay, came along and took over control of Scottish Rite Freemasonry, where he sat down and he wrote the rest of the degrees, okay, from the fourth degree, and some say there actually goes all the way up to 90 degrees. I've heard 45 degrees and I've heard 90 degrees, okay? But we know for sure, for certain, okay, that there's 33 degrees in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Now, no blacks are allowed into a white lodge. Okay, they aren't allowed in the Scottish Rite lodges. They aren't allowed in Knights Templar lodges. They're not allowed in York Rite lodges. Okay, and it's the York Rite and Knights Templar lodges that has 13 degrees. All right. Um, you have blacks though that have reached 32 degrees. Okay. Now, how they're able to do that, you have blacks like Barack Obama. He's a 32-degree Freemason. He cannot go past 33 degrees. He cannot even receive the 33rd degree. All right? They won't allow that for a nigga. But they will make certain exceptions for certain niggas to get the 32nd degree. But they must get these degrees through correspondence courses. Ain't that a bitch? Because they can't actually attend the goddamn ceremonies within the white lodges of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Okay? So they basically give these motherfuckers the paperwork and shit, and they have to achieve their each degree level by way of correspondence with a handler who is a white Scottish Rite Freemason. Okay? Each one has a handler. Okay? Barack Obama's initial handler was Henry Kissinger, okay, a Jew. All right. Also, when you're dealing with Rosicrucianism, I don't know how to say the shit. Uh, Rosicrucian, the Rosicrucians, okay, their degrees and things are all done by correspondence, okay. They do have I don't think they consider them lodges, but they do have things such as the Golden Dawn Order. Okay, that's Rosicrucianism. Okay, and they have what's called the OTO, the Ordo Templi Orientis. Okay, which was Aleister Crowley's. He had received he received sanctioning to begin his own hermetic. It's really hermetic Rosicrucian you know what I'm saying? Hermetic slash Rosicrucian slash Freemasonry slash fucking satanic order. You dig what I'm saying? It's all of that because Crowley was all of that, and that's what the OTO consists of in their teachings and so-called degree levels. And they have all certain ceremonies, all right, and rituals in which they perform. Okay. A lot of these ceremonies and rituals include things such as gay sex, all right? They include things such as drugs, all right, narcotics, and I'm speaking of the OTO specifically right now, all right? They include such things as bestiality, okay? They include such things as child pedophilia, gay sex, bestiality, child sacrifices. They sacrifice children, okay? Drinking of blood, the use of blood in rituals, all right? Which all are check marks for fucking black magic. Now, in the field of magic, all right, and I don't want you to be automatically spooked by the term, okay? But I want you to have understanding of the term and the different types of magic, okay? Now, in the basic arena in the field of magic, there's three types of magic, all right? And they call that black magic, okay? Which usually a simple definition for black magic is anything that uses blood, okay? Or that consists of conjuring fallen angels, aka demons, all right? And there are 72 demons that make up the demon world, or what's called the Ars Goetia, okay? ARSGOETIA, okay? These 72 demons was said to have been conjured up by Solomon, okay? He conjured each demon up and he trapped all 72 demons within a vessel, okay? A vessel, all right? Now, this is where you get genies, all right? The whole genie concept from, all right? They call them jinn, which a jinn is a singular term for one demon, jinn, okay? Multiple demons is genie, all right? Multiple, plural demons, okay? So when you hear the stories of genies in a bottle, all right? That's the story of Solomon trapping the 72 demons within the vessel, all right? Now, you also have the story of Seth, okay? Brother of Asar, all right? And Seth had 72 cohorts with him, all right? That helped trick Asar and capture Asar inside of the coffin, all right? And, you know, most of you know the story, okay? Seth was the brother of Asar, all right? He envied his brother because his brother was more popular than him. He was said to be more handsome than him. Osiris was called the perfect black, all right? And he had the better woman in the form of Isis. Now, Isis had a sister, which was Seth's wife, named Nephthys, okay? And Nephthys was fucking Osiris too. So his brother Osiris screwing not only the finer woman in Isis and Aset, right? He's also screwing his brother's woman, Nephthys, all right? So he's losing all the way around. His brother is more handsome than him, and not only that, he fucking not only the best looking sister around, he also fucking his wife too. So you dig what I'm saying? But from this word Seth, you get Satan, okay, or Satan, all right, or Satan, okay, and the word means adversary, okay, and this is how you get basically the same the progenitors in all motion pictures and things like that, all right? It's based on the whole concept, the Hermetic concept of paired opposites, all right? That's why in Freemasonry, the floor of the lodge is black and white. It represents paired opposites, positive, negative. You understand what I'm saying? Or in the movie Star Wars, you had what? You had the light force and you had the dark force. You dig what I'm saying? All right. What else I want to let you know? Okay, yeah, Seth, he had 72 helpers that all conspired against Asar. All right. So you have that 72 number being done twice. Okay. And like I said, there are 72 demons that are listed in what's considered the Ars Gotia. All right. The other type of magic besides black magic is white magic. White magic, by simple definition, is rituals that deal with conjuring the the higher demons, not demons, the higher angels, okay, good angels, angels who did not was not part of the fall, okay. In the Ars Gotia of the fallen demons, you do have the demons that are listed in the book of Enoch, and there's others as well, okay. Contrary to belief, all right, Lucifer is not the head demon in the demon world, okay? And demon worlds and angel worlds both have a ranking system. They have a hierarchy and then rankings, okay? And they have titles with these rankings, such as, right? He's a regent, okay? He's a archangel, all right? He's a I forget other terms, you know what I mean? But they're like military, oligarch type, King Arthur type fucking rankings and shit like that. They have these terms like back in those days, right? And some demons that have higher ranks, right? They're in charge of what's called legions, okay? So they're in charge of like 7. It might say like, say you take that demon Azazel, right? And they'll say Azazel is a regent, okay? And he's in charge of 8 legions. You know what I'm saying? All right. And that word legion is also referenced in the Bible. Okay. If you remember the story of Yahshua coming up on a man that was inflicted with a demon. Okay. And basically the people ran to Yahshua and say, man, come on, hurry up, come with us. We got to show you this dude, right? And they thought the dude, they called it, they said he was suffering from the palsy, okay, the palsy. So he was probably having seizures and shit like that. And see, back in olden days, people that had seizures and shit, they were usually believed to have been inflicted with a demon. I mean, they fall on the floor, you know what I mean? They shaking and shit. Their eyes rolling back in their head, you know what I mean? And when you can only imagine having a lack of understanding for like medical shit in that particular time before these things were just diagnosed. You know what I mean? People, believe in angels and demons more so than they do today. Okay, so then Yahshua speaks to the man and he says to him, first thing you do in all magic, let me say this first, in all magic, okay, when you perform a ritual or ceremony, all right, so you've drawn the necessary floor geometrics, okay? Sometimes it's a hexagram within a circle. Sometimes it's a pentagram within a circle. You know what I mean? It's depending on the ritual. And usually around the circumference of the circle, you'll have names, all right? And these names will be names of usually the Most High, okay? Like you may see like El, Elah, Tetragrammaton, Adonai. You understand what I'm saying? They'll be written around the circumference of the circle, okay? And this is to protect. This is for the ceremony leader, the magician, okay? The sorcerer, all right? The warlock, if you're dealing with black magic, okay? A warlock is a male witch, okay? And witches and warlocks, all right? Or sorcerers and magi or magus, a magus is another term, or it's a title term like Christ or like reverend or bishop, okay? Magus. Like you'll hear the name, like my name could be like Eli the Magus, okay? You understand what I'm saying? That would mean Eli the magician, all right? And that will let an individual know that I'm well versed in all fields of magic, ceremonial magic, ritual magic, you know what I mean? Conjuration, evocation, okay? Conjuring and evoking or invoking, you know what I'm saying, is a way of calling forth spirits, angels, or demons, all right? So after you have the names of the Most High around the circumference of the circle, this is where the magician or whoever stands inside of that, so that when he calls forth the particular demon, the demon is not allowed to hurt him as long as he's standing within the circumference of the perimeter of the circle. Okay. And then there's usually a second circle. All right. In which the demon is to be stood in and captured in. Now, Solomon is said to be the man who developed these techniques. Okay. You got to remember, the Lord God was pleased with Solomon, and he gave him, basically granted him a wish. All right. He granted him a wish. And he said, Solomon, I'm so pleased with you. You know, I'm so proud of you. And basically, you can have anything you want. What do you want? Right? And Solomon basically replied that he wanted knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. He didn't want money. He didn't want wealth. He didn't want fame. You know what I mean? He didn't want power. He asked for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Okay? Now, when he acquired that, he acquired all these things. All right? All these things. And Solomon was a player. You have to understand this. He was the wisest man in all the land in God's eyes. God saw him as the wisest. Now, that's, that's some respect right there. You know what I mean? And Solomon was a player, okay? He had something like over, I don't even know, can't even remember the number. It was like some crazy shit, like over 200 wives and over 300 concubines, right? Just, so he got 200 wives he married to, and another 300 he just screwing. You dig what I'm saying? Like a harem. He's like, the goddamn Hugh Hefner of the biblical times and shit, right? And I'm not making light of anything or blaspheming it. I just try to tell things in a way that would keep people interested, especially, and this is my technique and my gift, in which I'm able to bring a lot of young people to God. Okay. I brought a lot of young people to God based on my charisma and the way that I go by, introducing these stories to them. And I whet their appetites enough so as they go on and they start reading on their own. They come back like, bro, Eli, I read the book of Job, and you know what I mean? They get so excited, you know what I mean? Because I first tell them the introduction of the book of Job in more modern terms, okay? So Solomon he has all these women. So he gets this one particular woman, okay? And she is a sorceress, okay? She practiced different types of magic, and she's serving foreign gods that are foreign and forbidden to Israel. Okay, and Solomon started messing around with her and shit, and then he builds a temple for her so she can worship her foreign gods in. But he's also going in these temples, so he's fucking up. Okay, now how Solomon begins to get introduced to these demons is in the book called The Testament of Solomon. Okay, you can pull that up on YouTube, and they have it in audio, and it's serious, brother. Serious. Hell of a story, and I urge all of you to listen to The Testament of Solomon. Serious piece, okay? And it basically goes something like this. It's while Solomon is having the temple built, and by the way, the temple was built by demons. Once he gets these demons, he forces them to build the temple, all right? Which is it's the second temple in Jerusalem, all right? Built by Solomon. Remember, David wanted to build a temple, but God said, no, you're not going to build a temple, but your seed will. Okay, so the second temple was built by Solomon. All right, and he once he conjures these demons, once he gets proficient in these dark arts, right? He conjures these demons and he makes them work. All right. But this is how the story goes in the Testament of Solomon. I'm only going to give you a little, let you whet your appetite. But man, I'm telling you, check it out. All right. This little boy, okay, he got regular men working. Now, there's a couple of stories, and I'll touch on both. There's a couple of stories, all right? But in this particular, it's about 3 stories. But in this particular story in the Testament of Solomon, okay, he got regular men trying to build his temple, but they having a very difficult time, all right? They're not able to, get the things right in which, the construct of the temple right, all right? Because you remember in is it Proverbs or Ecclesiastes? I think it's in Ecclesiastes, okay? Solomon has exact measurements. And also in is it Deuteronomy or is it Exodus? All right, it's in one of them where they give precise, like when they give precise measurements for Noah to build an ark. Make this part 700 cubits and shit like that, right? So Solomon has the precise measurements of this temple, and the temple construct of the temple is based on basically in Freemasonry and in ancient Kemet, and as well in the Hebrew religion is based on 3 sections. Okay, you have basically it's 4 sections. You have the porch where you in front of the porch you have 2 columns. All right, which is in Freemasonry they're called they're called Yakim and Boaz. One represents the celestial, okay, the heavens. One represents the earth. Again, you have that symbology of paired opposites, all right? Now, once you come into and past the 2 pillars, okay, you have what's called the porch of the temple, all right? Then once you go past the porch, you have what's called the first chamber, okay? The first chamber, all right? Which is the main big huge room, like the living room, basically, all right? Then beyond the first chamber, you have a third part, which is called the inner sanctum, the Holy of Holies. And this is where you had it was the most holiest part of the temple. It's where you had the altar and everything, and where you made the sacrifice and the prayers to the Most High, all right? And, priests had to wash before entering it. They had to be clean, perfect, clean white linen. You had to bathe a certain way. You had to wash a certain way. You had to recite certain prayers and everything before entering. And when you're dealing with magic also, in all magic, whether it's white, black, or composite, and composite magic is the third element of magic, and it's said to be a mixture of black and white magic, which is bullshit though, because once white magic is tainted with any bit of black magic, it's all black. You understand what I'm saying? It's all black. It's no longer white. You dig what I'm saying? But let me stay back with the temple testament of Solomon. So Solomon is having these men try to build a temple, but they're having a hard time building it. They can't get the measurements and shit right. They don't understand the goddamn blueprint, basically. All right. So they're having a hard time building it, but Solomon is this little kid that Solomon is fond of. He's a poor little kid or whatever, but the kid tries to work hard. He pitches in, you know what I mean? He tries to, carry his weight, you know what I mean? And contribute, He's very poor. He's trying to earn a living. You dig what I'm saying? So he can eat and things like that. So Solomon, on the side, he pays all the workers, but on the side, he gives this kid a little extra than everybody else. But the kid, he notices the kid is losing weight and shit. He was already thin and malnourished, but he's getting even thinner. But Solomon's like, yo, I'm giving you all this extra money and shit. What the fuck is you doing with the money? You know what I'm saying? Why are you losing weight and shit? And the kid says, when I go to sleep at night, right, a demon comes and he sucks my thumb, right? And when he sucks my thumb, he's sucking the blood out of my thumb. And it's making me lose weight. And he's also taking all my money. You dig what I'm saying? So Solomon says to the kid, what's the name of this demon? And the kid tells him, right? And he says, all right. He said, Solomon takes his ring off, right? He said, here, take this ring, okay? And he says, and then now in magic, you have things like wands, rings, swords, okay, daggers, and on them you write inscriptions on them. And these inscriptions are usually, again, names of the Most High or high-ranking angels. Michael, Raphael, you know what I'm saying? El, Adonai, Tetragrammaton. You understand what I'm saying? Things like that will be inscribed on the rings or on, you know what I mean? And they also wore charms around their neck in which they called talismans, okay? And you would write certain inscriptions on them, like a mezuzah. A mezuzah is what you put on the post of your door, and usually within this little tube or it's like a little block of wood, but inside is written on always virgin parchment paper. That's what's used in magic. That's paper made out of a lamb, all right, that never gave birth, and usually they make it a young lamb, okay, that never ate meat. He only drank the milk of his mother's blood, of his mother's milk. All right. He never ate regular food like other lambs, and they slaughtered these lambs. And out of the flesh of the lamb, they make a thing called parchment. Okay, all right. It's like it's paper, but it's thin. You know what I'm saying? And it's dried out so that you can write on it, like a lambskin condom and shit like that. They're real thin and very delicate, right? Okay, and these, whenever you perform magic, you write on virgin parchment paper. Okay, all right. So he takes the ring off. He give it to the kid. He say, when this demon come, when the motherfucker come tonight, right? I want you to take this ring off and throw it and hit him in the chest with it, right? And once you hit him in the chest, I want you to tell him, Solomon want to holler at you, you know, and speak to you. You know what I mean? Take your ass and go see Solomon, right? All right. So demon comes at night. Kids takes to suck the kid's thumb and shit and take his money from him. While, you know, kid takes the ring off, throw it, hit the demon in the chest. You know, and the kid say, check this out, motherfucker. Solomon want to holler at you. And Solomon is known in all the land. Because one thing about demons is they know the servants of God. All right. If you remember in the New Testament, Paul, right? He tries to holler at I think somebody tries to holler at a demon, right? And the demon says to him, I know Yahshua, right? I know Peter, but I don't know who the fuck you are. Who are you, punk? You know what I mean? I think it was Paul, right? And I'll touch on that probably in another video. You know, man, I got so much shit. I be jumping around so much because I try to tell y'all so much, right? And sometimes I lose track and I'm able to catch my way back, right? I got so much to tell y'all, man, teach y'all this shit. This shit is crazy, right? Y'all haven't even begun to scratch the surface of what the fuck I got to give y'all. You understand what I'm saying? I've been giving y'all a lot of political shit, but I ain't even begin to give you the spiritual shit, and I'm nasty, I'm dangerous. All praise due to Allah. All praises due to Allah. All right? But I'm going to give it to you now. I'm going to start giving you the spiritual side of things, okay? All right. So, okay, the demon bucks. Like, shit, you know what I mean? I ain't going to see nobody, whatever, right? You know what I mean? But he can't resist, okay? Because, you know, the ring had an inscription on it, this, that, and other. And Solomon, having knowledge, wisdom, understanding, he understood how to control the demon, okay? And the first thing you must do with any demon is you must get its name. Like I told you, when Yahshua went to see the guy that had the palsy and the demon in him, the first thing he says to him is, what is your name? Okay, that's the first part in any ritual, okay, or ceremony in dealing with a spirit or a demon, all right, is to get his name. Through his name, he can be controlled. You understand that shit? Without his name, you cannot control him, okay? So the first thing you need is his name, all right? All right. So demon goes to see Solomon, and Solomon, you know, already got the shit laid out on the ground. He got the geometrics on the ground and everything, right? So the demon is inside his goddamn trap. That's what a hexagon is, okay? It's not no Star of David, all right? It's a symbol that's used in magic. It ain't even about Israel. And don't believe none of that bullshit where they tell you the Jews invented that symbol. You know, these fake Jews invented that symbol. They ain't invent shit. The symbol is a symbol that's used in dark arts, okay? Or not even necessarily dark arts. It's used in white magic too. But it's a symbol that's used in ceremonial magic. All right, remember, even Yahshua, one of his charges was that he was a sorcerer, a magician. You understand what I'm saying? Remember, when this brother is first born as a kid, he's visited by magicians. And it's not necessarily three. I don't know why they come up with, you know why they say it was three wise men? It's because when it don't say how many it was, right? It could have been 100 of them, right? But it says that they brought gold, right? Something else. And they brought frankincense and shit. They mentioned three things that these men brought, but they never said how many men it was. So motherfucking white people just went on and make the assumption, and they always assuming shit, trying to figure out your shit, that your ancestors wrote you, right? And they just jumped to the goddamn conclusion that they always do, that it was three wise men, but it don't say nothing about how many wise men it was, or magicians. They were magi's, right? And see, if you go into the Aquarian gospel, right? Once as he's growing up, each one of these men get Yahshua gets to take Yahshua, you know, Mary Joseph give him permission for Yahshua to go with them as a child, so they can each teach him their particular, you know, thing that they're proficient in or whatever. You know what I mean? So Demon go to see Solomon. I'm gonna leave the shit kind of right there. All right, I'm gonna tell you because I fuck around here and tell you all goddamn story. Okay. So yeah, that's how that goes. But that's what a hexagram is. A hexagram is used to trap demons. Okay, it's a demon trap. All right, that's what it's called. And then of course you have the word hex. Okay, which is a spell of sorts. All right, this shit is all about magic, man. It's all about magic. You dig what I'm saying? And you don't have to be afraid of magic and shit like that. As a matter of fact, I can show you a few serious magician books. If some of y'all want to, if some of y'all want to begin on some introductory, reading on things like that. All right. Let's see. Okay, let me just grab a couple things right here. Can't see what I really want. Okay, here it goes. That. Let's see. How about that? I'll just start with these right here. Hold on a second, people. Okay, so let's see. I'll try to get some of this stuff laid out for y'all. Just bear with me. Gotta lay this stuff out on the bed for you, so as you can see some of it. It's just a couple. I just grabbed an armful. All right. So here we go. Let's see, try to get some light here. Okay, I don't know if y'all can see that. Can you see that? Okay, I think y'all got that. This here is the Temple of High Witchcraft. You see it says Ceremony, Spheres, and the Witch's Kabbalah. Okay, and this is by Christopher Pensack. All right, heavy book. Okay, heavy book. It's serious, man. It deals with all hermeticism and things like that. Here's the second book. Okay, let's see. Can you see that one? Okay, The Inner Temple of Witchcraft, Magic, Meditation, and Psychic Development. Another Christopher Pensack. He's nice, man. And these books are very thick. Okay, shit. This book probably might be 1,000 pages. Let's see. I don't see these in there. Okay, that's 600 right there. Late 500 right there. So roughly this is 543 right here, and it's still about another 30 pages. So it's about close to 600 pages. All right. And now here's another one, very thick book. All right, and it's probably as thick as that one. So this is probably another 500 something pages. This is a serious book. This right here is the fourth book of occult philosophy. All right. This is Cornelius Agrippa. All right. This is the book of Agrippa. Serious book. All right. Heavy book. That's for heavyweights right there. You have this book right here, First Steps in Ritual. Okay. Magic Techniques, Experience in Inner Worlds. All right. You have a Tarot Bible. Tarot shit is heavy, real heavy. All right. And see, again, your understanding from not having any real information or knowing what it's about is going to be, you're going to think it's some weak shit with a minimum concern, but it's not, man. It's some heavy shit, and it works. It's serious, man. See, these things are serious, man, because listen, in magic, right, planets have influences, man. If you know how to perform a certain ceremony, a certain ritual at the right hour of the day, know what angel to call on who rules. See, each angel rules an hour of the day. All right, and it's done in cycles. It repeats itself. All right, you know what I mean? Different angel rules a day of the week. Okay, and in each day and each hour is ruled by a planet. All right, planets and an angel. Okay, here's a book called Voodoo Hoodoo Spell Book. All right, can you see that? Let's see, Voodoo Hoodoo Spell Book. All right. And in this, you got all kinds of spells and stuff like that, right? You know, if it tells you how to do things, how to make certain oils and things like that, and what these for. You know what I mean? You know how you hear things like John the Conqueror root. I guess those familiar with down the south, like in Louisiana, things, commanding spells. You know what I mean? How to command a person, how to consecrate something. You know what I mean? Uh, things of that nature. Court case spells, how to help you in court, how to win the court trial, to silence a court rival. You know what I mean? All that type of stuff, right? When I moved into this particular apartment, right, I performed a basic ceremonial ritual. Okay, I had to get certain and look, when you deal with ceremonial magic and rituals, you have things like you have to get the thing set right. Usually, you're gonna have a period in which you're gonna have to abstain from profanities. Okay, from you're gonna have to try to not have no unclean thoughts and things like that. It's really best to not even speak to nobody. To take a little some silence or whatever, and depending on whatever the ritual ceremony is, you may have to do this first for like 90 days. No sex. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, they might want you to wash twice a day. Have no profane thoughts or speech. You know what I'm saying? Don't do no dirt. You know what I'm saying? For 90 days. Then after that, you know what I mean? You have to do certain things like fumigate the place where you do the ritual has to be clean. A clean floor, you know what I mean? Walls clean. Everything must be clean, even in black magic. Because spirits, man, especially when you calling forth like angels and good spirits, they have to be clean, man, when they come into there. The linen you must always wear light, clean linen. So, you could get a sheet, you know what I'm saying? Or find you a robe. You know what I mean? A white, clean robe. You know what I mean? These things have to be clean. You dig what I'm saying? You have to wash and all of that, right? Um, Eating. Eating is another thing. You can't have that crap inside your stomach or whatever. If you remember when Daniel is called to interpret Nebuchadnezzar's dreams, he has to fast first. Because Nebuchadnezzar sends his messenger to invite Daniel to come to a feast. Because he wants Daniel to interpret a dream. But Daniel says, look, tell Nebuchadnezzar, I'll come to interpret the dream, but I have to pass on the feast. And the servant basically says, man, I can't tell him that. He'll kill me. You know what I mean? And Daniel says something like, well, explain to him this. I'm going to eat pulse, Daniel said, for 7 days. You know what I mean? And y'all can go ahead and eat that shit y'all eating, right? And when I get there, see how good I look and see how the fuck y'all feel and look. You know what I'm saying? And basically, he goes on to interpret the dream or shit, So yeah, you can't have that bullshit all in your stomach, all right? Usually that's why fasting is important. And when Yeshua fasts for 40 days, usually you're going to have a spiritual experience. You know what I'm saying? Like when Left Eye went to see Sebi, when she was alive, right? He put her on the same day, a 40-day fast for 40 days and 40 nights. And then he said that Left Eye came into his room like 3 a.m. and said, Dr. Sebi, I finished my fast. And you know what he asked her? What did you see? And she said, I saw God. That's heavy. She said, I saw God. That's heavy. That's heavy for your ass. And I believe her because I know what it's all about. And when he said that to her, he knew because it was a trick question. It was a trick question. It was a trick question. But she didn't know that. She just answered sincerely what she saw. How she felt the answer. And she said, I saw God. And he knew. He said, and you know what he told after that? Then you done. Then you done. You finished. And he said, matter of fact, he said this. Okay, you finished. It's time for you to leave. Now it's time you can go. That was the God. See, that's be serious. And that's the type of shit you see master teachers, You know, that's how, that type of shit a master teacher would tell you. You did? You did? What did you see? I saw God. Had she said anything else? See, the answer was just a damn 3-word answer. I saw God. Period. 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 No other explanations. No other stories. I saw God. Straight like that. You know? Yeah, boy. I get excited when I speak about my God, my Lord, man. Tell you, man. Tell you, Allah, y'all, you know, man, y'all just don't know what y'all missing, you atheists. You don't even begin. You just don't know the power. Man, listen, I was on a bus one time, and this goddamn white boy was just acting out, right? And I'm not lying. This is when I was at my spiritual peak. I was eating right, reading all day. You know, I was shocked. You know, and man, listen. I got his name out of him. And he told me his name, right? And then I start commanding this motherfucker. And then I told him, listen, on the bus in front of everybody, he was acting unruly, right? I said, sit down and shut up. And then listen to me. This motherfucker did some shit like that. He immediately did like this. Dropped his head, folded his hands in his lap, right? And sat there still. And didn't open his mouth no more for the whole bus ride on that command. And he did it immediately once I gave the command. It was the most craziest shit you ever saw. I knew what was taking place. I can only imagine what the other motherfuckers who witnessed it probably thought. They thought it was funny. You know what I mean? But I knew it was taking place. And that's, see, when you do certain things and when you tap into that God force, right, he will always give you confirmations. All right? That's where you hear shit about signs. Send me a sign, Lord. But see, you got, like they say in the Bible, he who has an ear, let him hear. He who has an eye, let him see. You have to be tuned in and learned enough to see the signs. All right? To see the signs, okay? And I don't mean making no exaggerated connection with some shit, all right? I'm talking about shit that's so evident, and then sometimes it's a confirmation backed by a confirmation, backed by another goddamn confirmation. I've had them happen like that too, you know. You get a confirmation that gets your attention, then you get the second confirmation to make you say, whoa, and then you get the third confirmation to make you say, praise Lord, you know, praise God, right? You dig? That's right, you know what I'm saying? So, all right, I touched on the 3 types of magic. You have black magic, white magic, and composite magic, which is so-called mixture of black and white, but I don't subscribe to that idea or philosophy based on my studies. You know, you have, you know, it's two types of, you have what's called ceremonial magic. And magic, this is my definition of magic based on, again, my understanding. See, once you become well learned in something, all right, then you can begin, you should be able to, you know what I mean, to what you see. Solomon said this. He said, seek knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, but of the 3, seek understanding most. So I always go for understanding. Okay, you can read a book, okay, but you can read a book for understanding, which means you're studying a book. That's the difference between study and reading. Okay, reading is to, you know, get through the book, you know, to get knowledge of the book. But understanding the book is study. Okay, and I read for understanding. So I read much slower because a lot of times once I'm reading something, I take a moment to ponder on what I did. Right, and here's my favorite word. And I make a comparative analysis. I need to know how I need to apply what I just read to how that thing operates in reality terms. All right, how is it evident in my reality, in my world, based on my experience and what I've seen and what I've known or heard of? You know, you have to make a comparative analysis. So then you can have what's called a working understanding of a particular thing. And then in some cases, you can actually put that thing to a test, okay? An experiment, a study. You dig what I'm saying? A poll. There's different types of experiments, all right? And these things are to deepen one's understanding. All right. You know what I mean? So that's why I say a lot of times that people don't have no depth perception. Okay, they ain't saying deep shit no more because their understanding has no depth. Okay, no depth. That's where you get, man, that was deep. Okay, meaning he was able to pierce beneath the surface, beyond the veil. Okay, that he don't just see things through the eyes of superficial eyes. Okay, he peers beyond the goddamn surface, that's beyond the superficial. All right, he seeks within. All right, you know what I'm saying? That's why it's called intelligence, intellect. All right, you understand what I'm saying? Because you can always apply whatever you know. Everything you know should always be applied to the self. Okay, because the one of the most important purposes about your living, right, is to understand the self. All right, that's why they say, man, know thyself. All right, and another one is to thine own self be true. Okay, you must analyze oneself with truthfulness. Okay, not with naivete. You can't be naive. You can't be in those states of denial about shit, especially in dealing with the self. Okay, you don't want to lie to yourself. All right, because then you're living a lie. All right, but I'll go on forever, man. I see this motherfucker's hitting down there 50 minutes or whatever, but I just want to see what else I'll touch on real quick though. The Freemasonry piece. I'll touch on a little bit of that. I don't know. So now I'm gonna just wrap this one up, and if I come up with some more things after I watch this video a couple of times, then I may do a part 2. All right. So again, I love all black people out there. You know what I mean? Keep your head up, Israel. Brothers, don't be no atheists. You know what I mean? Most atheists that I know have no lip. They aren't well read and no scriptures. Okay, and that's another thing. I'll make a video on scriptures because there are many more scriptures beyond just the Bible. You know what I mean? And the Apocrypha. Most people know the Bible. They know the Apocrypha. They know the Quran. You know what I mean? Some might know the Bhagavad Gita. You know what I'm saying? It's just so much stuff out there. Some may know a few Nag Hammadi texts. You know what I mean? Some may know a few of the Dead Sea Scroll texts. But man, it's just so many out there. You have the Bruce Codex, the Young Codex, Carl Jung, Jung. Okay, he was one of the ones that I don't know how he got the goddamn collection, but he got a whole bunch of Nag Hammadi scrolls and that aren't released, like the Paraphrase of Shem. You know what I mean? The Apocrypha of John, the Apocrypha of Peter. You know what I mean? Things like that. The Gospel of Mary. You know what I'm saying? There's so many of them out there, man. It's like hundreds of them. And these things are mind-blowing, man. Hypostasis of the archons. You dig what I'm saying? It's a bunch of them, man. And if you can remember some of these I just spit at you, you know what I mean? Look them motherfuckers up, man. You can PDF. You can go on Google, type in them titles, and put PDF at the end and download most of this shit for free on your phone. As long as you got a SIM card in there, it ain't going to take up no space. PDF pages of books and shit take up very little space. I got probably about a fucking 100 in this phone right here, and I only got a 8 megabyte card in my shit. You know what I mean? They take up kilobytes. They don't even take up megabytes. You know what I mean? And it take like 1,000 megabytes to make 1,000 kilobytes to make 1 megabyte. So you could download a fucking 500-page PDF book, and that shit might only be like 3.8 kilobytes. You dig what I'm saying? You ain't nowhere near 1,000 even equal 1 millibyte yet. You dig what I'm saying? All right, man. This is Brother Elihu coming at you from Baltimore, Maryland. Peace.